Imagine being a rapper who calls his neighborhood the deadliest hood in Houston, and then the actual police publicly come on the internet and call you a liar. That's not a hypothetical. That literally happened. The Houston police officers' union badge-wearing, gun-carrying law enforcement went out of their way to log on to social media and tell the world that Cartel Bo is a fraud, that his hood ain't a hood, that the neighborhood he's been rapping about building his whole image around calling murder wood has had 2 murders. Music 2, not 20, not 200. 2. But here's where it gets real crazy, fam. Instead of just taking that L and moving on, Cartel Bo and his attorney fired Music back, went on live television, and announced they are suing the police for leaking his private home address to the public. So, now we got a Houston rapper in a full-blown legal war with the cops who raided his music video set, got him locked up in federal prison, and are now allegedly putting his life at risk by doxing him. Y'all need to hear this whole story from the beginning because nothing about Cartel Bo's situation is simple. This man has been to federal making moves, and now he's suing the people who came after him. Let me break it down for you. Before we get into all the drama, you need to understand who this man actually is. Because if you don't know Cartel Bo, you might sleep on how wild this whole situation really is. His government name is Warren Trell Brown II. Born and raised in Houston, Texas, he moves in the streets affiliated with the 52 Hoover Gangster Crips. And no, that ain't just a rap name thing. We'll get into that in a second. Now, Cartel Bo wasn't always on people's radar outside of Houston. He was doing what a lot of street rappers do, posting on YouTube, dropping tracks on World Star, building music a local following. Songs like Up and I Shoot First were making noise in the city. He had the energy, he had the street credibility, and he had the connections, including a relationship with Max Cream, one of Houston's most respected names in rap. DS, but here's the real tea. Cartel Bo's music wasn't just rap. It was documentation. Every bar was a window into a specific lifestyle, a specific set of streets, a specific way of living that not everybody gets to see up close. And that's exactly what made him dangerous to law enforcement, because the line between art and evidence is razor thin when you start filming what's really going on. And in 2018, that line disappeared completely. Okay, gang, this is where the story really starts. March 2018, Cartel Bo and Maxo Cream decided to shoot a music video for their collab track, Hova. Now, if you know anything about Houston rap videos at that time, you know they weren't pulling punches. No green screens, no rented mansions, no fake props. These Nightways was shooting where they actually be at. So, they set up the video shoot at Lakewood Park in Houston. And they pulled up deep. We're talking about 24 alleged members of the 52 Hoover Gangster Crips all on camera on a basketball court right next to Hilliard Elementary School with loaded guns. No cap. Multiple loaded real actual firearms on a basketball court next to a school on camera for a music video. Citizens in the area called the police, and when officers pulled up to the location, almost everyone scattered. They dipped, left the set, left the location, left everything behind. What they left behind, though, a dozen loaded firearms, some of them stolen. The music video dropped anyway, posted on World Star Hip Hop, and it went crazy. Over 2 million views. And that's when law enforcement made their move because now they had something they didn't have before, a visual record. A TF in federal music court. Let that sink in. A music video led to 11 federal convictions, music and all, because they filmed the reel. Now, fast forward to 2024. Cartel Bo walks out of federal prison. And this man did not come home quiet. He signed to Warner Records, one of the biggest labels in the music industry. He dropped a project called Life After the Feds, It Get Better. And the title alone tells you everything about his mindset. He's framing his whole post-prison chapter as a survival story, a redemption arc, a music testament to grinding through whatever the system throws at you. He linked back up with Houston's rap scene. Collaborated with names like Slim Thug and that Mexican OT. He was getting his money, building his fan base back up, and positioning himself like a man who came through the fire and didn't get burned. And then someone decided to put a camera in his face and follow him back to the neighborhood. That someone was a documentary filmmaker named Tommy G. This is the chapter that blew everything wide open. Tommy G dropped a documentary called Murderwood Inside Houston's Deadliest Hood. And the concept was raw. Embed yourself in the Lakewood area of Houston alongside Cartel Bo. Get up close to the lifestyle. Show the streets how they actually are through the eyes of someone who actually lives them. The doc music was gritty. It was authentic. It was unapologetic. It positioned Lakewood as one of Houston's most volatile, dangerous, music and deadly neighborhoods. And it positioned Cartel Bow as the face of that world. And it went viral. Over 1 million views. People across the country were watching this thing and treating it like a window into something real, something dangerous, something untouchable. The internet was eating it up. Hip-hop blogs picked it up. Social media was buzzing. Cartel Bow's profile was rising again. But the Houston Police Officers Union was watching, too. And they were not happy about what they saw. Here's where it gets crazy, fam. For real. For real. The Houston Police Officers Union, an actual official law enforcement organization, decided they were going to respond to this documentary publicly. Music, not just issue a report, not just file something internally. They got on the internet and called Cartel Bow out. They questioned Music, his credibility. They pushed back on the whole Murderwood narrative. Their argument: nobody in Houston actually calls Lakewood Murderwood. Music and the area has had two murders. 2 murders does not make the deadliest hood in Houston. That's not a war zone. That's a neighborhood. Now, let me be clear about what the police union was really doing here. They were publicly saying that Cartel Bow is manufacturing a street image that doesn't match reality. That he's taking a normal residential area, slapping a dramatic name on it, and building a rap persona off of fictional danger. Translation: they called him a fraud on the internet with their government credentials behind it. But they didn't stop there. They also went public with the fact that Cartel Bow is currently on probation. And not just that, they highlighted that he has 4 domestic violence cases attached to his name. Think about that for a second. Law enforcement is publicly, deliberately broadcasting this man's legal history and personal life to millions of people online. And in the same breath, they're dismissing his street credibility. This is not normal behavior from a police union. This is targeted. This is a campaign. And Cartel Bow noticed. Cartel Bow and his attorney Carl Moore didn't take that lying down. They went on Fox 20 SIX's Isaiah Factor and censored Houston's version of going on record publicly with a platform. And they addressed everything, questioning the false narrative he's building around Lakewood. In their words, they're just setting the record straight about the neighborhood. But here's what really blew this up: the doxing allegation. Cartel Bow and attorney Carl Moore went on television and alleged that law enforcement leaked Cartel Bow's private home address to the public. His actual residential address, where he sleeps, where he lives. Let me make sure you understand what that means in the streets. If you're a rapper with beef, music real beef, not rap beef, and someone puts your home address out there, that's not just an embarrassment. That's a potential death sentence. That's painting a target on your back for anyone who wants to find you. And they're saying the police did it. And this is where the story shifts from a beef to a legal battle. Music, and that changes everything. Attorney Carl Moore is filing suit. They're going after law enforcement for Music, the alleged doxing of Cartel Bow's home address. This ain't just talking to the blogs. This is courtrooms, depositions, discovery, and putting everything on record under oath. Now, in the legal world, doxing by law enforcement is extremely serious territory. If it can be proven that officers or officials deliberately released private residential information to the public, especially knowing that it could endanger someone, that is a civil rights violation. That is a lawsuit with real teeth. And Cartel Bow's team clearly believes they have something. You don't go on Fox 26 with your lawyer and announce a lawsuit for PR. Music, especially not when you're already under a microscope with 4 domestic violence cases and a probation situation hanging over your head. That's a calculated legal move. The police, for their part, haven't confirmed leaking anything. But the fact that this story made it to mainstream news, that Music, a Fox affiliate, picked it up, that the police union felt the need to publicly respond multiple times, tells you that something significant is happening here beyond just a rapper complaining about haters. Now, just when you thought this story couldn't get more complicated, it does. Recently, Cartel Bow and his baby mama were arrested in Houston. He was picked up on a warrant, and she was charged with violating a protective order. So while all of this public war with the police union is going on, while the lawsuit is being discussed, while Cartel Bow is claiming he's being targeted and harassed, he and his baby mama catch a new arrest. And this is the part that the police union will point to and say, see, this isn't harassment. This is accountability. But here's what y'all need to understand. Whether you think Cartel Bo is completely right or completely wrong about the police targeting him, the arrest of him and his baby mama doesn't automatically invalidate the doxing allegation. Both things can be true at the same time. He can have legal issues and law enforcement can have overstep. That's what makes this so messy. There's no clean good guy and bad guy in this music story. This is a war between two sides that both have ammunition. Okay, let me pull back and look at this from 30,000 feet, because there's a bigger pattern here that a lot of people are missing. This is not the first time law enforcement has gone out of their way to publicly engage with and undermine a rapper's credibility. We saw it with NWA. We've seen it with Tekashi 69. We've seen it with Boozy Badazz. There is a documented history of law enforcement agencies, local PDs, federal bureaus, prosecutors using a rapper's music, image, and public persona against them in both the court of law and the court of public opinion. What makes the Cartel Bo situation unique is that the police union isn't just using this as evidence in a courtroom. They're engaging directly on social media. They're going on the record questioning his credibility in a way that sounds less like official law enforcement communication and more like street beef. The police are beefing with a rap on the internet about whether his neighborhood is really that dangerous. And now that rapper is suing them. Meanwhile, Cartel Bo is sitting on probation with 4 domestic violence cases, a new arrest, and a documentary that the whole city is talking about. His label, Warner Records, is watching all of this unfold. His tour dates are allegedly getting canceled. His career momentum from the post-prison comeback is being directly disrupted. But is it being disrupted by law enforcement targeting him? Or is it being disrupted by his own choices and the legal consequences that follow? That's the question nobody can fully answer right now except the courts. Here's the thing about Cartel Bo's situation that connects to something way bigger than one rapper from Houston. Hip-hop has always walked this line between documentation and glorification, between telling the truth about where you come from and being held legally responsible for that truth, between representing your hood authentically and having that clears throat representation used as evidence against you. The Hova video being analyzed frame by the ATF. That was documentation becoming prosecution. The Murderwood documentary being publicly challenged by the police union. That's art becoming a credibility trial in real time. And the doxing allegation, if proven, represents something that should concern every artist in every genre. If law enforcement can release your private home address as a form of retaliation against someone they've publicly deemed a troublemaker, that's a constitutional problem. That's a First Amendment problem. That's way bigger than Cartel Bo. No cap. The outcome of this lawsuit could set a precedent for how law enforcement is allowed to engage with artists who document street life. Real recognize real. And what's real here is this. Cartel Bo's story is about survival at every level. Survival in the streets. Survival in the federal music system. Survival in the music industry. And now survival in a public war with the people who have badges and guns. The feds came for him once, and he went to prison. Now they've allegedly put his address on the street, and he's going to court. So, where does all this leave us? Cartel Bo is out of prison. He's on probation. He's got new music, a major label deal, and a viral documentary. His music also got 4 domestic violence cases, a recent arrest, a lawsuit in the works, and a police union that is publicly calling him a fraud on the internet. This man's life is a full season of television compressed into 2 years. What I will say is this. The Houston Police Officers Union publicly engaging with and attempting to undermine a rapper's credibility is a level of weird that we need to pay attention to. Whether Cartel Bo is telling the truth about Murderwood being dangerous, whether he really is from the streets or the suburbs, whether the police really are questions that the courts and time will answer. But the fact that this is even a conversation we're having, that a rapper and a police union are in a public war that's making mainstream news and heading to a courthouse, that tells you everything about where we are in 2025 in America. The streets are watching, the courts are watching, and y'all better believe Cartel Bo is watching, too. Drop a comment. Do you think the police crossed the line by publicly calling him out? And do y'all think this lawsuit has legs? I'm out. Stay safe.